Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Chat Network, your first stop for pop culture talk. I'm your host, Nico, and joining with me today, as always, my co-host, Chris. How you doing?
Hey, not too bad. How are you?
Good. Not too bad. Looking forward to talking some comics. As always, huge week of comics. We got over 20
Big week.
titles to get into this week. So a lot of stuff to talk about. So let's not waste too much time. But this is our weekly comic book review show. Make sure to like and subscribe. And thank you to everybody that's been checking out our solicitation videos as well. I did want to quickly mention that. A lot of you guys have been checking those videos out. So, I hope you've been enjoying that. And those are our monthly videos where we go over future comics that we're looking forward to picking up. It used to be a segment on this show, but now we've been putting it out as its own video. So yeah, thank you for everybody that's come across our channel and has been subscribing lately as a result of those videos going out. But yeah, Comic Shop Talk, our weekly comic book review show. Make sure to check these out. We got a whole playlist full of them here on the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. And this week, we're going to be talking about the new comic books that came out for the week of March 26, 2025, the last week of March. Spoiler warning as a spoiler warning. Oh, I said that weird there. That was a little bit of a tongue twister there almost. Yeah, be forewarned, we are going to be getting into what happens in the books here this week, showing off the art. So if you're worried about getting spoiled, you can always read your books and come back and check us out. All right.
All right. Well, let's talk comics. Cheers.
Cheers. All right. First up on the docket here today, a book I stupidly, for whatever reason, because there's like 20 something books of art I had to put together for this week, missed the art on, which is one of the most highly anticipated books that came out this week. So my apologies, everyone. I'll try to put some of the art up on the screen here with my issue. But that's Batman 158, Hush 2, the return of Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb and Scott Williams on inks, the original art team and writing team behind the original Batman Hush. What'd you think of this, Chris?
Well, there's a lot of hype for this comic, and the art definitely lived up to the hype. The characters that were involved loved all that. And, I think, what's it, Jeff Loeb or...
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think his story got in the way of the art. Like, it seemed to... I think the story was, it's not a big convoluted story here, and I thought it was good. I liked it.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty simple, kind of straightforward story that he's telling here. And even if you hadn't read Hush before, I think this is pretty accessible. And honestly, like, I know he had a lot of time probably to kind of do the art for this story, I would assume, Jim Lee. I mean, they've probably been planning this for a while leading up to this announcement of them taking over the book for a bit here. But he looked good here. This looked better than the last time I saw Jim Lee. I feel like when it's been a while since I've seen Jim Lee's art on interiors like this. I thought it looked really good. So I was impressed. Like, I'm not like the hugest Jim Lee fan. I like Jim Lee. I think he's good. But I think this is really good, Jim Lee. Honestly, it's some of the better. Like, the last time I feel like I saw him do a book, it didn't look this good. So I was pretty happy about that. That's the whole, with some of these guys that aren't drawing every month, like they, like these artists that have been around a long time, you get worried that they're going to come out and do a book and then maybe it's not going to be up to snuff, up to the standards you expect from them, what they used to do, right? Especially as they get older, right? But yeah, no, this is good. I
think he could have chose some better poses for his splash pages, things like that. That's about it. That's the only kind of critique I'd have to say. But other than that, you didn't phone this in, that's for sure.
No. So basically the simple plot so far that we got going on is Hush is back. He abducts the Joker in this issue and tortures him a bit. And then Batman, something is afoot and he suspects that the Joker is behind it. And when he goes to confront the Joker at this like circus hideout that he's got, he finds him there all kind of like messed up. And I guess that's where Hush had taken him or left him after he had tortured him. And he discovers that Hush is back. And that's basically where we kind of leave it at the end there. Right. But yeah, so far so good. I mean, there was an interesting part with Talia showing up.
Yeah.
She mentions Damien in this, and they have all the rest of the bat, like Barbara and Dick Nightwing there together in this, and they at one point they lost communication with Batman, and then they're trying to get back into communication with him after he got messed up, because I guess he got hit in some like under his armor. There was like I don't know, like a circuit board or something that got hit, and then he got electrocuted. And there's this whole thing with the Joker fish and stuff like that, which kind of goes back to like an older classic Joker story that they referenced in this. And they lose communication with him, and then he freaks out when like he gets communication back up and running, and he's like, we've been infiltrated or whatever. He starts
Yeah,
like
shut down the emergency lockdown. Turn it off.
yeah. So there's some good moments in this, like between him and even like some of the other Bat characters so far.
Yeah.
And if it's anything like the original Hush or Long Halloween, this Jeff Loeb just likes dropping characters in every issue. Like, I think this is going to be like a who's who of the characters in his world that are just going to show up and kind of filter through the story. That's kind of what he's known to do, let's say, with a very basic ass plot. The next issue, who knows who we'll see that'll show up, right? Damien's already been referenced, and he wasn't around the first time that Hush happened. So, yeah, it's interesting how he already had Talia plop in and kind of say that and be like, yeah, I'm going to go check on Damien. So yeah, you know what? I enjoyed it. I thought, it didn't blow me away, but it was enjoyable. And
Yeah.
to have Jim Lee interiors, that's not nothing. So cool stuff.
Yeah, it's a good start to this arc here, and I'd give it a 4 out of 5.
Same. Yeah. And I also would say this is better, even one issue in, than the last Halloween story he's been doing, which I haven't really. I mean, he's had some great artists on that series, but I think the story is a bunch of baloney personally. So
Yeah, that's what I was worried about here, that he'd come in with some crazy story that's going to put a bunch of balls in the air. But I was happy that it seemed to be a simple story so far.
keep it simple. Yeah, honestly, I think with Jim Lee on hurt, you don't really need to like kind of, you don't have to go into some super overcomplicated plot line here. Just tell a very, serviceable, basic Batman story with the Jim Lee interiors. I think that it'll be a decent story. Honestly, I
Yeah.
don't think you need much more than that. Especially if it's just like a limited time thing, right? Like if he's only on this for like 6 issues or 8, I don't know. Have they said how long they plan to this Hush to be? Like
I think it's somewhere 6 to 8.
yeah. So
They
like
have that new Batman one. They're rebooting Batman after this.
right. So yeah, so just if that's the case, yeah, you don't need to change the character in any way if they're gonna reboot it anyways, right? So all right, so next up we got Wolverine Revenge number 5, the last issue of this miniseries. Got the red band one here. Yeah.
The Red Band 2.
And I'll
Okay, we can open these up because I don't think they'd be worth anything, but
I'm gonna show off the couple of pages that I think differ from the art. It looks like today with the red band stuff, because I did one of mine. But go ahead. What do you think of this, Chris?
yeah, this story has been freaking ho hum all the way through, and it just followed up on that. Kind of reading the solicit, I thought it's like the final battle between, or the final showdown between Sabretooth and Wolverine, and there was no showdown. I think what Colossus Kid try and gives a little fastball special, and then Wolverine just slices them up. I get a little bit of some moments there with Colossus and his son, I guess, before Wolverine killed him, just to, I guess, sort of give Colossus' son a bit of reason why he's going after Wolverine. And they have a big fight there, and I guess Wolverine ends up in limbo, and out of the blue he's going to take over limbo. Like, I don't know what the heck where that came from or what that's about. It's just weird, this whole story. It started out strong with that Magneto, putting out the EMP, and the world's all in dark, but they don't even reference any of this stuff throughout the rest of the story.
Yeah, then they kind of did the bait and switch thing here, where he had that he had that like device that Forge had made, that if he got flashed by it, he would lose his healing ability. So he's like, now we're on the even keel here, you and me, let's do this, mano a mano. And then they fight, and he lets him think he kills him when he gets taken down to limbo, because he uses magic sword, which is what, his sister, or his aunt, sorry. Yeah, because he married, sorry, his aunt. Yeah, that's his sister, Klaus. Yeah. Sorry. So So he opens up the hole, the limbo, which I thought was pretty cool, and brings him down there. And then he ends up driving Magic Sword through Wolverine and killing him. But killing him, and then Wolverine's like he kind of lets him go
Yeah, it
off.
opens up one eye. Is he gone? Okay, maybe he'll find his peace, and I'll just live down here
That
in limbo.
that's okay with me personally, because like it's true, like revenge will take over your life. Like that's what he said. I didn't want that path for him after look what happened with me and how I've lived my life so far. Leaving him in limbo to now be like the like take over limbo though, yeah, that was kind of weird. But I did like the point that he was trying to make about how he didn't want that for him and let him think that he won, even though it was like a quick cop out. Because for a second there, I was like, oh, wow, they actually killed him here. And I was like, nope, I'm not dead. I was like, oh. I actually would have liked it better if they actually killed him. I would have been
Yeah,
like, well,
because this is like an Elseworld tale. There's nothing, there's
right.
no repercussions if he decides to kill him here. Why not?
I mean, they could have just did that same deal with what he said, and have some like crazy inner monologue with him bleeding out there at the end. Like, oh, I shouldn't have lived my life this way. Oh, well, you know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like that would have been actually better. I did think that. So when they revealed that he wasn't dead, I was like, I honestly was like an audible, like I kind of groaned. I was like, oh, come
yeah.
on,
It's like,
man.
oh, I tricked him. I didn't. I just turned
Yeah.
on the light.
I was with this up to that point. Like I liked all that, but
Yeah,
despite me saying that he kind of, I understood where he's coming from with trying to give Colossus's kid a chance here, or whatever. But anyways, yeah, it was okay. I didn't mind it. It is just a straightforward, simple revenge tale, though, and don't expect not much else from this. The Capullo interiors I thought were good. It looked good, but yeah. Here, I'll show off the 2 pages that weren't in the non-red band edition here. Let me just put it on me for a second. They're definitely bloodier, these ones, because I saw both of them. So
yeah,
that's when he kills Sabretooth, who gets
yeah.
stabbed.
That's where I figured they're going to put in the switch for the red band, but
And then you got the Colossus magic sword when he drives it through him, I think is different. It like literally just goes through his mouth there. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of cool. But yeah, nothing too crazy though. But yeah, Capullo killed it on some of these pages. I thought this was pretty awesome here. I thought you did a great job on that one. But what'd you give this, Chris?
I got to give this 3.5.
I'll go 3.75. What how about the whole series, the whole mini
Yeah,
series?
even the whole series 3.5. I didn't dig this series too much at all.
Okay. I'll go a little higher. I'll go 3.75 on it. Next up we got Wonder Woman 19.
Let's see, where's my Wonder Woman? I got a couple variant covers. Well, not a couple, but I did get my Wonder Woman 18 variant cover. You can see that one.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah.
And then I got this cover for 19 here.
Oh, nice. That is a nice one. Yeah. Very nice. And this is basically the conclusion of this long storyline, I guess he's been telling since the start of the book here in this issue. What'd you think of this, Chris?
I thought he had some surprises. He pulled out some surprises here in the end of this story. You figure it was just Trinity, just having the Sovereign sort of locked up, and he's going through his whole story. And the what he was talking about earlier or later on in the story about he's birthing his revenge. So it looks like this might lead into some other type of story. I don't know if that's going to be what's going to be going on in the Trinity comic that he's putting out. But for the end of this, it wasn't too bad. I don't know if it needed 19 issues, or I guess imagine it's probably at 16 or 17. There might have been a few other issues that were in
Tie-ins to
the
the
middle of
events.
that, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
otherwise, I thought it was a little bit long in the tooth, but I thought it was a satisfying end. And I guess that Amazon that sort of started all this, I guess they impregnated her, and then her kid seems to grow up and kill all the Amazons at one point. Like, I don't know how that fits in the timeline, but I thought that was a bit of a jarring revelation. And yeah, it was pretty decent.
I liked how she forced him to carve liar onto his chest, which
Yeah.
was pretty cool. Like kind of the whole Scarlet Letter kind of shit. Like I kind of liked how he was branded with kind of like it was almost like what's it called, Inglorious Bastards end, where he makes him put the swastika, carve it into his forehead. You know, always
Yeah.
be known as a Nazi. Like, I just like the intention behind that, to kind of disgrace him further. That what's his name? The dude that she basically disgraced at the
Yeah.
end. What was he? Not the president.
As a sovereign, right?
Sovereign. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I did like that, and I do like that there's still some questions kind of left, answered here, I guess, about what we've learned about Trinity, and what is to come still, I guess, in this run. I guess we'll see what happens, and I'm interested to see what he has planned next. I mean, of course, the book looked great as always, and
Yeah.
it wasn't bad. I agree with you that I don't feel like it needed this long to tell this, but that's kind of like Tom King's approach, I think, to a lot of his
Yeah.
stories.
You could have just read this issue and you pretty much got the whole story all at once.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was the whole thing, was like basically just seeing her come into the White House here finally and take him out, essentially, right? And disgrace him and have him, bow down to her, which was like unheard of, right? So to kind of see that he still had this, reminder of it in this future setting, was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you give this?
I'll give it a 4. I like this. I like this whole run. It kind of kept me engaged all the way through, except for just the length of it. Kind of got a bit repetitive at times, but otherwise, the art's been great all the way through, and the story, I say, it kind of held my attention.
What the hell was going on here at the end? There's like Nazi mice or something like that. What the
Yeah,
fuck was
I don't know
going
what the heck that was all about either.
on? I give this a 3.75. Yeah, I feel like I really enjoy this every other issue. Every other issue is like okay, and it's overall, I think it's still a good series, but it's had some stuff I wish could have been better. I just think I'm interested to see where it goes now. Like, now this story's out of the way, but it was a good story overall. I'm sure it'll read better one big chunk. Next up, we got Absolute Manhunter #1, the newest from the books of the Absolute line. And yeah, I think what's the only other one I think we're waiting on is Green Lantern, I believe. I think that's
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, this book has been super popular. I'm surprised just because it's the Martian Manhunter book, but I guess like people have been all in on this Absolute stuff. And I just read today online that the reception has been so good from this, they pulled one of those DC type of moves based on the popularity of the first book, that they've extended it now from 6 to 12 issues. It is still not a ongoing series. It is still a limited series, but the writer basically answered somebody's question when he said that, and said, I don't know, we'll see. I mean, if it continues to be good and I actually have a story to tell. Also, he's like, it's important to me to keep the artist Javier Rodriguez on board. If he isn't available, then we're not going to do more than that. But for now, we're going to do 12 issues. It's a limited series. So yeah, it was a good first interesting issue. It kind of starts out with him being involved in like in a blast that he almost gets killed from. And then basically it shows throughout the issue how I'm not sure if he knows that he's Martian Manhunter, like inside of him, because he's tripping out all issue, and he's not really ever referenced that he's aware that he's a Martian. He's just like seeing weird things. Weird things are starting to happen to him. He's basically just tripping out majority of this issue. He's very peculiar about the way he is. He has a wife and a kid in this. So like, I don't know if this is the regular. I mean, obviously it's not, because this is a different version with these Absolute books. But I don't know if he's aware that he's that he's a Martian, or if he is a Martian, what the deal is there, like how he's not aware of this. So that's kind of where we're at with this first issue. It's still a pretty big mystery, but he goes to the doctor. He gets checked out after this blast. They tell him that he should probably maybe take some time to himself, take some time off work. His work basically tells him he should take some time off after this blast that almost killed him. But he's part of the FBI. And he's like, I got like 6 open cases ongoing right now. If I step away, this is going to be problematic. So he like urges his boss to continue to let him work. So he continues to work, and I don't know. And then like as he's going through his day, he starts to see weird colors coming from places. He doesn't know like where they're coming from, like why this is happening to him. His brain isn't wired correctly, he thinks, and then or maybe it was because of the accident. And then at the end of the book, there was a really, really cool gimmick that I don't know if I've ever seen in a comic, like while reading it. There's a moment where you basically flip to a page, and it says, message to my fellow Martians: to activate your Martian vision, please take page 25 of the comic book in your hands and hold it up to the light. Use a lamp, a reading light, or the sun itself. It's up to you. See diagram for details. And then you actually can put the page up and against the light, and it shows him on one side of the page. And because you can see through the actual page, on the other side of the page, there's a silhouette of what is the Martian head that goes around his actual head on the actual art of the page. If you look through the light, and there's a message that reads back to you. Obviously, if you flip the page, you get to see the image, but the actual use of actually putting it up to the light and having it kind of show that he's actually a Martian, like, is really cool. I don't think I've ever seen that done in a comic. So I was like, that's an interesting reason to pick up this issue, and an interesting way to kind of like engage with the readers. I was actually really surprised by that. I was like, that's pretty cool. And I'm a fan of Javier Rodriguez's art. We just seen him do that Zatanna Bringing Down the House miniseries. He's definitely got more of like an abstract kind of weird looking art style. But I think it works for this Martian Manhunter book, honestly. So I guess we'll see. We'll go from here. Like, there's all these kind of symbolism type things happening during it. Like his daughter, he sees her making all these clay people, and then one of them looks like a Martian. So there's all these things that are happening to him in this issue that are everything's pointing to the fact that he's not normal and something's up with him. And like I guess he is the Martian Manhunter, but we've yet to see how that happens in this first issue. So, and or if he's even self-aware, if he's buried this knowledge, I'm not sure, but he's really out of it throughout this one. And that at some point towards the end, he starts seeing all these streaming colors actually coming off of people, like as he's walking through the street. So he doesn't know what the hell's going on. He's just tripping out in this whole issue. So he's able to see words in the sky. So yeah, something's happening to him. And yeah, this is the page here. This is where they actually show a little illustration of the girl with the issue. And then you flip the page, and this is the image that you put up to the light right here. And then you see a silhouette going around his head from the illustration on the other page, which is this Martian Manhunter image. So really cool. I thought that was really interesting. I'll give this a 4 out of 5, but it also interested to see where it goes, just because, like I said, the story is very slow so far to get into this character, if this is his origin, so to speak. Next up, we got Absolute Wonder Woman number 6. I got this sick Sean Murphy variant this week that he did.
Nice.
Yeah, really happy to have that. And the regular cover here, it'll be up on the screen here in a moment. So you didn't end up reading this in time, for the show?
No, I didn't get. I guess I forgot. I had it on my pull list, but I guess just didn't make it into my pile.
So just like Absolute Batman, this is a 2-issue story with a different artist that's happening now. So you know how like Absolute Batman, the next 2 issues are going to be a different artist. This is the same thing. A different artist drew this issue. D. Lewis. I'm not familiar with the artist, but man, does this artist do a great job. The book, such an interesting, different style of art, but it looks fantastic. And I really like Hayden Sherman's art on this book, but this was a good fill-in artist, like a very hyper kind of like not detailed, but like it looks more like painted art or like real life, like kind of looking art, honestly, like more serious looking. And yeah, I really like it. It's really looks really good. So basically in this issue, she got taken into like a portal or hell at the end of the last issue after she took down that kaiju. And in this one, she's basically with Hades in hell. He kind of brings her there, and it looks like he wants to basically keep her captive there, and they're going he asked her to remove all her weapons, and she removes everything, and all her armor and stuff like that. And then she puts all these different ropes that she has down, and then one of the ropes, he asked how she got that rope and how it came to be. So then she goes into the origins of how she created that rope. And then she talks about how how Zeus left this one god tied to a mountain. I forgot which one it is exactly, but she goes and it kind of goes into a flashback mode. Yeah, Mount Prometheus. She goes to Mount Prometheus, and then she shows how this god is tied to the mountain, and he's the one that using his blood, she was able to create this rope, this magical rope. So it kind of goes into the origins of some of her weaponry in this one. And he's like, no, he's like, that's I sense something else in this rope though. And then she's like, oh yeah, well that's the venom from this huge snake that I had to take down one time. So then they show another flashback of her fighting like this mythical kind of huge snake or whatever. So it's just really cool. Like again, they're now describing like her weaponry, how that came to be, the origins of that, and all like the trials and tribulations, almost like it feels like the like Hercules adventures kind of stuff that she had to kind of go through to kind of to forge all these weapons. So just really cool backstory stuff, but as a little two issue kind of thing in between the storylines, I really dug this. And like I said, I thought the art was really fantastic. So I'm looking forward to the next issue of this. Yeah, definitely catch up, Chris, on this one. It was really cool. Oh yeah, and then they tell her after she had taken this guy off the mountain and helped him. He mentions that he's the one that resurrected this Pegasus, the undead Pegasus that she uses. So you learn how she got him as well in this issue. So it's kind of cool because we didn't really go into any of this. She just kind of showed up fully formed in the series, and then most of the time she spent on Earth, and you learned a little bit about her and her mother's relationship. But that's the big cliffhanger of this issue, is that Hades, in order to kind of get her to do what he wants or keep her in captivity there, he reveals that he has her mother tied up at the end here, like in captivity already. And he's like, well, that looks to be the only weakness you have. So guess what? And he like pulls out her mother. He's like, I have your mother here. And so I guess we'll see what happens there, if she's going to be able to get her out. Yeah, she's in chains here at the end. So good stuff. I give this a 4.25 out of 5. I love this series. Next up, we got Godzilla versus Fantastic Four #1. Oh, hold on. Let me see. This is a Nick Bradshaw cover, the Monster Homage variant. Great stuff. I got all the Nick Bradshaw ones pre-ordered for this. I'm happy to say this was a lot of fun. I had a good time with this. Although John Romita Jr. did do the interiors on this one, not Nick Bradshaw. And you would think that John Romita Jr., this is like in his wheelhouse, him drawing some monsters, because, he's not going to be drawing people for one, so they don't have to look weird. But even some of the Godzilla moments in this, like, there is some bad like scenes in terms of like when he starts fighting like the other kaijus in this. Like, I don't know, there's a couple of questionable scenes even when I was reading this. I'm like, it doesn't look great, whatever. But it didn't bug me that much. But yeah, it was just like a fun one and done story about the Fantastic Four taking on Godzilla after he had already ran through Tokyo. He's now showed up near their home, and they try to like beat him up and take him out, but they're not really having that much effect. And then what's this? Is it Mothra? Hold on, which one shows up? I forget this one's name. King Ghidorah shows up. One of the one with like all the heads and like that flies like and got the wings. So basically, they mentioned that Silver Surfer shows up all of a sudden, and something's happening to the like that they realize that it must mean that Galactus is near, but not Galactus's herald, and this takes place after Silver Surfer is no longer Galactus's herald. So they're mentioning the fact that had just happened recently. So I guess this happened in the past in Marvel continuity, they're saying. And they're like, well, who's his herald now? And it turns out King Ghidorah, the kaiju, is his herald. So it's kind of fun. Like, I like that. I like that King Ghidorah is like Galactus's herald. So he's got like the power cosmic kind of like powers and stuff like that as his herald. And the Silver Surfer uses his power cosmic to channel the power into a collapsed Godzilla after he gets taken out, in order for him to blast King Ghidorah away and basically help the humans in the end. And in typical Godzilla fashions, he just wades back into the water and disappears afterwards. It was a lot of fun, man. I had some fun with this. I thought it was a nice one and done. And if he's going to be touching on different Marvel characters in the universe throughout different time periods, I'm in for these one shots. I had a good time with this. 4 out of 5 easily. I had a good time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, no, this is exactly the right type of tone. Now they're all going to be different writers and different characters, so maybe they won't all be this enjoyable. Ryan North, who's writing the Fantastic Four right now, is the one who wrote this issue, and he clearly has a good, I guess, knowledge of Godzilla or the kaiju's involved in his world. So I thought this rang true. I think for both prop. Yeah, like look at his face there. Like that's terrible. Like, what kind of side angle weird look is that he's got on his? I don't know. There's a couple of panels. I'm just like, oh man, that's not great. But otherwise, I thought it was fine. Like this looked fine here. So good stuff. Good time. I look forward to the next one. I think the next one is Hulk. So we'll see how that one fares. Next up, I got Thunderbolts Doomstrike #2. Honestly, this tie-in to this One World Under Doom is way better than I expected it to be. I'm really enjoying this Thunderbolts Doomstrike. Another great issue in this one. Bucky meets up with what's his name, U.S. agent there, and tries to kind of get him, John Walker, tries to get him involved in helping him. And just the way that they wrote the character of John Walker in this and Bucky's relationship and how much of a prick John Walker is, I thought was really well done. And then Contessa shows up, the actual Contessa, not the robot Contessa that he had as part of the Thunderbolts team there, the LMD that he had in the previous Thunderbolts miniseries. She shows up, and she shows up as what's his name? Like an old dressed as an old character from like an old Thunderbolts team, essentially, but it turns out it's her. And Sharon Carter, he meets up with her and tries to get her to help out as well. So Sharon Carter, Bucky, and John Walker, U.S. agent there, go to stop a train that Doom has going. That is basically, he's got a big Doom face on it. He's got a train going basically from one part of the one country to another, traveling with a load of like different things he's taken apparently now that he's taken over. So they have to try to stop this train and figure out what kind of cargo that he's got on this train. And it turns out that it's filled with vibranium. But in the end, he tries to take out the train and take back the vibranium, so Doom isn't able to kind of steal this cargo and aid himself even more with everything going on. But he ends up failing. Contessa shows up with like a bunch of Doom bots. These guys are overwhelmed, and Bucky has to run away at the end, and she takes John Walker as prisoner, and he gets screwed over in the end of this. So like Doom is like, just like every, he's thinking of everything here that he can't get, like these guys can't get one up on him. So I think it's really well done. Oh yeah. And then he calls in the WW2 guy from the Hell Hunters. Yeah. He shows up and he's like, I know somebody that can help out that hates fascists. And then all of a sudden you see him. He's like, I came out of retirement for this. And then you see like the Doom locomotive and him trying to take it out. It's just super fun. Again, I'm really having a great time with this miniseries. So yeah, good stuff all around. And every issue, there's some great stuff that happens. Bucky is down and out right now. Doesn't look too good for him. And I guess we'll see what happens next. It's a great tie-in. If you guys are enjoying One World Under Doom, this is the best tie-in I've read so far out of the ones I've checked out. So I'll give this a 4.25 out of 5. Great stuff. Oh yeah, that's Red Hulk. Wrong one. Okay, so next up we got. Oh yeah, there we go. Red Hulk #2. All right. This is another One World Under Doom tie-in. Also fun, also not bad. Nowhere near as good as Doomstrike, though. But basically, they were locked up in Doom's dungeon, and this is the escape happening in the last couple of issues. So Red Hulk now teams up along with Deathlock and Machine Man, who are also held captive in Doom's dungeon here. And this is they kind of make their way out in this issue finally. Like in the first issue, they were kind of introducing you to everyone that was stuck in his dungeons, and they kind of left you with the idea that that Red Hulk was going to make an escape. And then in this issue, you actually see them make the escape and fight their way out of there. But when they get a top side there and escape the dungeon itself, all these doom bots like filtered out of this hole that they made from underground, and there's like thousands of them, and it formed this huge doom bot that just towers over them, and it doesn't look good for them. Essentially, they're like, yeah, you're not going anywhere by the end of this. So it was a quick read, and it's fun. It's got good characters in it. The art's good, so not too much to complain about. But I just think like it offers less in terms of like storyline. It's pretty straightforward as opposed to like the Thunderbolts Doomstrike, which has been, I just think, much better in comparison. But this isn't bad either. But if you had to read one tie-in, I would go with that over this. But yeah, I like to see Deathlock. I like to see Machine Man. Those are interesting characters you don't see all too often. So let me just show you the art of the big Doombot here at the end, which I thought was, yeah, there you go. All the thousands of Doombots form like a big Doom, essentially. And then like all of a sudden over the speakers, Doom is like, I'm talking to you from wherever. You guys need to get back in there. You're not going anywhere or whatever. He's like, I'm putting a stop to this. I'm going to execute you for treason, essentially. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. This guy's all over the place, this Doom. He knows what he's doing. I gave this a 3.75 out of 5. Not bad. Not bad. All right, Chris. Next up, we got Weapon X-Men #2.
Yeah, I've just been reading this one online. And what are we up to? Wolverine was captured by Deadpool in the last issue, and Deadpool's taking him back to Baron Strucker's base. And then I guess the Baron there sort of reveals what his plan is going to be. Well, this is this is it here, right?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Cable kind of gets his team together, and they're trying to track him down. And then I guess the Baron puts the double cross on Deadpool, and Deadpool thinking ahead, he sort of frees Wolverine, and it seems this Baron has been building or used the Wolverine to sort of create some clones. I don't see where it goes from there. So it's an okay story. It's better than the last Weapon X-Men for sure.
Yes.
It's got a lot of good characters here, and the story's moving along. I'm still not too sure about this Deadpool Wolverine. I think they're beating that horse up a little bit too much.
That's my one criticism of this. While this has been good and enjoyable as well, I think that coming out on opposite weeks from each other than the other Wolverine Deadpool series, the Benjamin Percy one, which I feel like we just talked about last week or maybe the week before, but there's a lot of that going around right now. And I honestly mixed this book up while I started reading it at the start with the other one for a moment, because it was like basically almost the same setup where Deadpool was trying to take out, Wolverine or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's the same type of deal. But then obviously in this one, you got Cable and everybody else. You got a bigger cast of characters. Actually, you can't even really say that because there's a bunch of people in that other book too. Mavericks in the other one, right? So
No.
if I had to compare the two, I like the other one more than I like this one, but this one isn't half bad either. But you're right. There's a lot of Wolverine and Deadpool happening post Deadpool movie now, which is kind of weird because you would think that they would have had all this, which they did, going on at the time of the movie.
Yeah.
But to have two concurrent miniseries going on for no reason at all other than to tell a Wolverine Deadpool story seems odd right now. But this is more of like I don't know, like a Weapon X type of book, hence the Weapon X-Men title, right? Like this is more of those type of characters, but it's mainly focused on Deadpool and Wolverine so far as opposed to everybody else. And you got the Wolverines of mass destructions instead of LMDs, right?
Yeah.
Because Baron von Strucker is trying to steal his what's his name, Berserk Rage.
This Berserker Rage, trying to map that AI or something.
I like that moment where he's like obsessively telling Deadpool about his plans and how much he loves how Wolverine is made up. And he's just like, do you guys need a moment or what's going on here? Like, he's like pressed up against the glass, like just observing. He's like, oh, what an amazing specimen. He's like, what the fuck? I thought that was pretty good. What'd you give this?
I give it a 3.75. It's okay.
Yeah, I'll give it 3.5. Yeah, it's not bad. And then we got Rogue Savage Land #3, Chris.
It's got the A cover for this. Where is it? There it is.
Yeah, the Carrie Andrews one. I got that one too,
Yeah.
but I also got this one. Oh shit. No, I got 3 covers for this one. I got this one.
Oh, the Lucas, is that Wernick or whatever his name is? Yeah.
Yeah. This one's a beauty. Love
Yeah, I
this
can't
one.
go wrong with that.
And also got the J. Scott Campbell one.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
All
bad.
winner.
Yeah. But yeah, what'd you think of this?
Yeah, this story's getting a little long in the tooth too, I think.
Yeah.
But I guess the story's moving along. They're traveling through the Savage Land. I still don't know what they're trying to do there with these parent towers or something. And they're trying to get that chief mistress there. The art's decent in here. They make everybody look good. Can't complain about that. The story gets a little wacky here too, where Rogue tries
Yeah.
to put the moves on. I know it's a Khazar.
He's like, whoa, Sheeta, I'm married to Sheeta. Hey, oh.
I know. I thought that was just a bit of an odd tone to take here, just
I liked it.
in the middle of the night.
I agree. It was
And then,
unexpected.
isn't Magneto lurking around in the background too
Well,
somewhere?
he excused himself to bed at that point, right? That's the time you spring on him, right? He's like
Yeah,
trying to be like hint, hint, which is weird because, I would have thought that, I guess at this point he was still kind of a bad guy because they've had dealings before. I feel
yeah.
like,
I thought that they had some romance while they're in the Savage Land. Maybe this is what's going to lead up to,
right?
because he does sort of apologize at the end. So maybe he's turning over a new leaf. And, this what's that, the Zeladine, or I don't know what this high priestess name is. She seems to be an interesting character. They got some zombie dinosaurs. So they're playing some fun ideas here, and it's working still.
I get what you're saying about even this story. You feel like it's getting a little long in the tooth, but at the same time, at least this one is only a 5-issue miniseries, unlike
Yeah,
some of the other kind of X books that have been coming out and based on sales, they're extending their run. Right? I think this is fine in terms of the length that they've said the story is going to be. Honestly, at this point, but yeah, otherwise, yeah, I agree with everything you said. I enjoy it. It's not bad. And I actually, this is the one book where I've been getting a lot of covers where I don't feel as bad because I don't think it's complete trash. Unlike some of the other stories we've been reading, I think it's been, I can see myself holding on to these issues, right? So it's
yeah,
it's not bad. What'd you give this one?
yeah. I give it a 3.75.
Same.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we got Justice League Unlimited #5. And I got this cover, the Nathan Surdy one or whatever.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, not bad. Although I did I did realize that, oh no, this isn't this. If this is the regular cover, maybe I didn't miss out on it. I think starting the next issue, because they're going to be all tying in the crossover between all of the Justice League books now, like that Wade's
Oh,
doing.
that We Are Yesterday.
Yeah, they're supposed to be having a Dan Mora connecting cover, but I guess it's starting with next issue because I thought it was this one, but if this was the regular cover, then I think I'm safe because I wanted to get those, but because
Yeah,
I buy Batman Superman anyways, and I buy Justice League, so then I was like, okay, I'll get those, but I just picked this up because of the variant cover artist, right? But okay, that's good to know. But what do you think of this?
yeah. This Justice League's moving along fine. I've just been reading this one online as well. I kind of dropped it off. I'm not too keen on this Inferno bad or villain or super terrorist group that they have going on. And there's the art still is. If I did buy it, it'd be definitely for this Dan Moore art. You can't go wrong with anything he's doing in there,
No.
and with all the characters that he's drawing, so that's always great. And I don't know what to say about this comic. It just seems to be like color by numbers, and then the big thing at the end, I guess, that the Legion of Doom is back in play. So that is a interesting fact. But I guess that's just to move on to their new crossover event. So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I feel like every time they got something going in this book, it almost feels like you said, it's paint by numbers, like phoning it in, kind of like it. I don't know. The scope of this book is just so big that I feel like it makes little to no impact at the end of the day. Like I
Yeah,
just kind of breeze through these issues. I don't know. It's missing something. Yeah,
it just feels like it's an advertisement for other comics. That's about it.
Yeah, because they keep mentioning the Adam Project and all this other stuff. Yeah, and now they're going into the crossover with the Wade books that he's doing. So I don't know. Like you said, it's just it is a great looking book, but I don't know. I don't know if it's too long for my pull list and much more than the next couple of issues. Like I've continued ordering it because I'm like, this should be good, and it's not bad, but it's also
Yeah.
not. It should be better, in my opinion. So like, yeah, I don't know. I'm really conflicted with this one. This is honestly, I think, going to be on the chopping block soon for me. So I mean, it is. I think the next couple of issues are really going to dictate where I go with this one, because I might just continue to read it digitally, but we'll see what happens. What'd you give this then?
I'll give it 3.75 just for the art.
Oh fuck! I was gonna give it 3.5, but for the art, I'll also give it 3.75. I guess.
Yeah, like if it was on the story alone, then I was pondering the 3.5 as well, but it's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
still
I
a
mean,
good
I'm
book
interested
for
to see
that.
what happens now with this crossover. Like, it's just not exciting me as I wish it would. Right? Like,
Yeah,
it's not
because
that it's
they, we got a problem. Let's send this team out here, and okay, this is what we're gonna do, and they do it. Big deal.
yeah. It's yeah. Anyways, next up we got Superman number 24.
Let's see here.
Yeah.
Superman 24. Who was the artist in this one too? This was a
E-
good one.
Eddie Barrows is the artist on this one, who is
Yeah,
new to the book.
yeah. I think he just there's a fine like Dan Morrow was on this book too for a while as well. Correct?
Yeah, I think he literally just stepped off the book. I think this is the first.
Yeah. If this guy's
Yeah,
continuing on, I think
he's good. Yeah,
it's good. Yeah, like I think like you could see some of those faces. They're expressive, but a little bit over the top. But I guess after they're seeing that scene, they would have that kind of shocked look on their face.
well, I guess
And
it's
now it seems,
it's
pardon
two
me.
artists. It looks like. I guess it looks like it's two artists, Eddie Barrows and Eber Ferreira. I don't know if like one of them's just doing inking or something though, but this is like this page here is Eddie Barrows though. Like, so it may be
Yeah,
like a combo of the two throughout it, like different scenes. But yeah, sorry, go on.
yeah. But as for the story, I guess things are getting a little crazy at Supercore. It seems Lex Luthor is getting his memory back slowly, and Superman's a little worried about that. Mercy is, I guess, she reveals her true colors in this issue. And even with what's her name, Lois Lane as Supergirl or Superwoman, they had a bit of a Justice League event here. Maybe that's what kind of tired me out from, I read this and then the Justice League, and it was almost, like another just, side by side similar story or similar attack in their story, where you get the whole team together and, you got to introduce everybody that's on the team, and then, they have their little quips between each other. But at least the Superman's got a bit more going on with the Superman side of the story, where he's back at the Supercore, and they find out that the Supercore has been building weapons for these people and doing all these sort of things under Superman's nose. And it looks like there could be a battle brewing for the power of Supercore.
Man, there's a lot going on in this comic. Honestly, they just kicked this in a high fucking gear. There's so many balls up in the air of like plots happening in this book, and the point where they actually separate in this issue, like you said, and his wife there, Lois, goes with the Justice League, and then he's got all this stuff with Luthor going on, which was a kind of an interesting reveal with the whole thing with the super guns and like her branding all this shit, like the technology that got going. And meanwhile, she's like building this whole thing with like kryptonite in her suit to basically stop them. And there's a lot of good stuff going on, but there's so many things going on in this story right now. Like my
And you
head
figure
was
that,
spinning.
yeah, and that stuff with Doomsday, that really hasn't been resolved yet
No,
either.
it
That's
just
just kind of been put on pause.
right. Like they even mentioned it in this. They're like, yeah, what's going on with that? Should we be worried? He's like, oh yeah, don't worry. He's good for now. Like what?
Yeah,
Like they kind of got him on ice for a little bit, but that doesn't mean, like you said, it's resolved. Like this is like old school comic book like storytelling going on here in terms of like how they'd always have all these like A plots and B plots and C plots going
yeah.
on. And, like that's basically like, and then all of a sudden you got Lois now with the Justice League. Like I don't know how the hell that happened so quick. All of a sudden now she's like with the Justice League, and she's teaming up with the Creeper, one of the weirdest characters of all time. His name's literally the Creeper. So like I don't know. This is just like my head was spinning after this issue in a good way, where I'm just like, whoa, what is going on in this book? Like pump the brakes. Like it just felt like we just like went from one thing to the next, and then he just like started like 3 other new storylines in this issue, right? Yeah, it was. I like this. This is what the Justice League should be like, though. But it's not. It doesn't feel that same way, though. Is what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't have to get an underlying story that's pulling everything together.
Yeah. It's just not because there's no character development happening in that book. It's just like they're just being sent out to different places in order to like run missions, and we don't get any. Like you said, it's like a catalyst just for other storylines and other books as a result, right? But yeah, this is interesting, and like you said, the art was good. I like this. It was just so much going on right now. But yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes. Because where do we? Oh yeah, she built her own Luther. I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, it's crazy. And then I guess we're coming up to the issue 25, so I guess they're gonna have some sort of big issue for that, and looking forward to it.
What did you give this one?
I might give this a 4. I think.
Yeah, after talking about it, I agree. I'll give it a 4 as well. Good stuff. All right, then we got the Seasons number 3, the newer Rick Remender book here. Where are we at here? I got this. All right, what did you think of this, Chris?
Yeah, this is okay. How long is this series though? Is this like a mini series or?
I don't know. He really hasn't been doing that many long series lately. He doesn't announce it though. It's not because it's an Image series, so it could end like in 10 issues, could end in 15, right? But like, I don't think he's written anything that's been over like 15 to 20 issues lately. So I don't know if this is going to be like like a 50 issue run. Many things aren't these days. So
Yeah, because like when I was reading this first couple issues, it sounded like that circus or whatever that's coming to town. That was a real thing, and like the whole town was dead. But now they're kind of playing with that idea that maybe it's not real, and it's all just in her head.
Yeah.
And then it's a lot of, I guess, more of a slice of her life there. You get to learn about that the seasons are their names and all that sort of stuff, and I guess the relationship between these sisters. They have a big kind of blowout, and then the older sister apologizes, and, promises her not to kind of, make up all these stories. And then someone's kind of stealing one of their other sister's stuff. She chases them away, but makes all this noise.
Yeah.
And when the Winter comes upstairs, what's going on here? She goes right back to those stories. And, I know it's a big cliffhanger at the end, but they're going to be sending her to boarding school. So,
yeah.
And then I guess you see a bit of the ramifications of all her running around in the earlier issues.
Yeah.
That was kind of fun to read.
It was. Yeah. It was funny because like these people, these ladies that were very rude to her threw their jackets out there, like, go get this dry cleaned. And then she sees some next guy who she like, because he jumped on the bus and trolley and all this other stuff that she owed money to. And he takes the money that they gave her to pay for the dry cleaning. And then she's like,
Yeah.
She's like talking to her goldfish. Oh, really? You think I should do that? All right. And she throws she throws their jackets in the trash and just walks off because they were such bitches, those women. So I was just like, that's awesome. I really like this character because I feel for her because it seems like she's trying her best. Like she has a good attitude about her, but she's just one of those people that just bites off more than she can chew constantly. And she means well, but she keeps putting herself in these positions. And like, yeah, her other sister, Winter Seasons there, she's she tries to give her a chance, and it seems like they made up. And like you said, at the end there, it turns out she thought because she didn't witness what was going on again with these creatures or whatever, these guys, these thieves that she stopped. She may send her back to boarding school now. So I kind of left us with that at the end. I was like, oh, I'm enjoying this. I'm starting to really enjoy the characters, honestly, and this main character here. What is she? Autumn this one, or is she Spring, or I can't remember.
With the main character, I think it's Spring.
Spring, yeah.
Yeah, Summer was that actress, I think, and then she was in the last issue.
Autumn, I think, was the one that tried to warn her about the circus that was coming. Yeah. And Winter's the one that lives at home here and's got the I think she's like an artist or something, I think they said. Yeah. So
that's the emo one.
Yeah, Spring. Yeah, that's her name. Yeah. So yeah, good stuff. Not bad. It's growing on me. What'd you give this?
I got 3.75.
I agree. Yeah, good stuff. Then we got we're taking everyone down with us, number 1. from Matthew Rosenberg, who I do quite like. It's been a while since I read a book by him. What'd you think of this, Chris?
Yeah, I kind of just read this one on a whim. I heard some stuff about it. I forget what the solicitation or sort of what the byline was, but it's got an interesting title. I thought this was more of like some sort of John Wick type story where some guy's just going to go around killing everybody, and it just it starts out with some little girl and her living at, I don't know what, if they live on a base or something, or if they're isolated there, and just wacky things kind of happen there. The father's a scientist. You think he's a good guy, but it looks like he may be a bad guy. If there's somebody, they're playing hide and seek, and she stumbles upon some guy that's captured in the basement, and then he just basically offs her, or offs that fisherman, and then he goes up to his room and just has all these tender moments with his daughter, let's say, about kind of telling her what's going on, but at the end of it, you still really have no idea what's going on or who's who and what's what. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, I, like you, thought that's what this book was going to be, and maybe it will turn into that because that's literally the title of the book. But I didn't know what to expect from going into this either. I just like the team on this. I think this same team, like same writer and artist, did a Punisher run years ago at Marvel, which I really enjoyed. And I've read a bunch of stuff by Matthew Rosenberg, the writer, and have enjoyed it. But yeah, so I just kind of checked it out based on that. What I got from this was it kind of felt like her dad is like the evil scientist Bond villain, and then there's a secret agent that shows up later in the issue that's got like a drug addiction.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere too.
That scene was awesome. Yeah, that scene was
He
awesome.
goes through all the drugs they were taking.
But basically, like, this doctor alludes to a group of people that have had surveillance on them. And that's why he freaks out, and that's why he has this guy locked up. And he tries to paint it to his daughter that they're the bad guys, not him. But meanwhile, he's like got all these robots that are running this compound and like being babysitters to his daughter. So like this just felt like he's a straight up super villain. And and the other agent that you meet later on in the issue is like a Bond kind of like agent or something, like secret agent of some sort that's tasked to take this guy down. That's what it seemed like to me. I got from this, but like I don't know. But it kept you guessing in the way that the story was unfolding and the setup of it. So I was really interested, and it was double sized, like the pages in this as a debut issue. I felt like there's a way longer issue, which I think Image, it's good when they do that because like a new storyline with characters you're not really aware of, like with superheroes, you kind of need a little bit more to kind of get into it, I feel like. And by the end of this, I was like, I need to know what happens next. I really enjoyed this first issue. Yeah, like he's torturing all these guys. He's got weapons that like makes one dude's side melt or something. And like you said, they're not really explaining these things. They're just throwing these things out there. But for me, the secret agent scene was the best. Where he's just like, all right, he's like, yeah, I saw a little.
Or when they find out somebody was captured or whatever they went there for, and they're like, "Oh, how come nobody told me until now?" And then the guy points to the girl he was shagging. He's like, "Oh, okay, let's go."
He's having sex with the woman up against the window, and all of a sudden the dude's like outside the window, like trying to get his attention. And he's like, "Hey, what made you interrupt me with Miss February from Playboy or whatever? By the way, that she's not Miss February or whatever from Playboy." And he's like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "What?" And he like throws out some dirty magazine name. He's like, "Oh, Centerfold." He's like, "Yeah, all right, good enough, but whatever." Yeah, this scene here. I liked it, man. It was pretty funny, that scene. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see where this goes. This guy's a mess, though. This guy, if this is who the guy is, like we have to like see, like has to take this guy out, and I don't know how that's gonna happen. Oh yeah, and then at the end, the girl looks like somebody infiltrated their compound. Maybe those agents. I don't know. Something went down, and there's a big explosion, and then all of a sudden, it looks like the robot is left like with a big boulder, like he's holding it up over her head, and he like saved her at the end of this book. So and he's like talking as her father. I don't know if he's actually in there, or I don't think so. I think that's the robot, but maybe like he's there in light of her father not being there, right? So yeah, good stuff. What'd you give this?
That's because I get 3.75.
Oh, I liked it a bit more. I give it honestly, 4, maybe even 4.25. I like this. It left me really wanting more, so I'll give it 4.25. All right, next up, I got a few other things I read here this week. We got Fantastic Four 30, which is the One World Under Doom tie-in issue. This was really good. I mean, I think it always helps when the writer that's writing the ongoing series is also writing the event, which Ryan North writes this, and he's writing One World Under Doom. So he's got a good handle on everything that's going on in the event in this series. And in this issue, it kind of deals with the fallout of what had happened after Dr. Doom made Ben Grimm a human. And a lot of really great humanizing moments with him as Ben Grimm in this. Like, he's really taken aback and depressed after he gets his, the thing part of him taking away. And Alicia there, his wife, tries to take him out for a night, for a nice dinner at a restaurant, a night on the town. She's got somebody watching the kids, and she's like, no one's going to be here later, so we could hook up, which isn't something that can happen all the time because he's the thing, right? So she really is trying in this to kind of like get him out of his slump, because he's really depressed after this happens, right? Because he's finally accepted the fact that he's going to be the thing in his life, right? And then it kind of feels like something's taken away from him. And then when they're walking away after the dinner, about to go home, some guy comes up out of an alley trying to rob them, and he attacks him like he's the thing, without even thinking in a second, like kind of not even thinking, I'm Ben Grimm now, I can't just take bullets like they're nothing. And this guy shoots him multiple times, and he ends up in the hospital. Shoots him right through the hand, because he grabs the gun and then he shoots through his hand, and then he stumbles back, and then he shoots him a couple more times, and then he runs off. And then you see in the background a Doombot apprehends him and is like holding him up over his head, like he basically caught this criminal. But the guy shot Ben Grimm like 3 fucking times, and he ends up in the hospital, which is tragic. And then the family comes to like visit him, and then he tells like Reed how in the dumps he is, like how depressed he is. He's like, I can't do it, I can't even protect my wife anymore. He's like, I need to do something about this. And then he tells them, okay, I'm going to be discharged tomorrow afternoon, I'll see you guys tomorrow afternoon. Meanwhile, it turns out he's getting discharged in the morning. So then he goes from there to visit Alicia's father, the puppet master, in prison after he gets discharged in the morning. And he basically brings them a lump of clay, because that's the puppet master's power. He can basically mess with people, control people's minds by making constructs of them out of clay. He gives it to him, and he's like, listen, you love your daughter. I need you to do this for me, because I can no longer protect her and be the man she wants me to be, or whatever. And he basically makes it so Ben has a permanent smile on his face. Essentially, he makes like a clay piece for him, which you don't find out till later. He just shows him as a man, and he gives it to him. But then he goes, you see a scene with them at dinner, and he's smiling ear to ear. He can't stop smiling. And Alicia's like, what happened to you? Like, what's going on? So she figures out, he was discharged in the morning, and she goes to confront her father at the end of this issue, blames him for what had happened. He's like, no, you don't understand. It's like your husband was the one. And he pulls out the clay, and there's like, you could tell like somebody just basically took his face and like he edged it with his hand and made a smile, like a permanent smile. It's like your husband wanted this. Yeah, right here. And yeah, and then at the end of it, like he goes and confronts her about it, and she's just like she starts talking to him, and he starts crying. And yeah, they have this really nice heartfelt moment. It's really a really good fucking issue. I was like, oh my god, like it made me sad at the end of it, because he's just like, I don't need you to be that person. It's like, I love you for you, like. And then it kind of just ends there with like him basically collapsing in her arms, and because he's crippled now. It's fucking sad, bro. I was just like, Jesus. So yeah, that's kind of, and then you just see the clay in the background. Really well done, really great. I give this honestly like a 4.5. I have tears in my eyes right now, Chris. This is crazy. Good stuff. Really great issue as a tie-in as well. Peacemaker presents Vigilante and Eagly double feature #1. This was okay. I would say if you're a fan of the show, definitely check this out. This is more in tune with the show and in line with the show and how that the humor is, more so even than the Peacemaker Kyle Starks miniseries that we got. I would say this is like almost like they ripped it right out of the show, and apparently this is supposed to tie into the next season of the show or something, they were saying. And you have 2 different stories with the double feature. You got the Vigilante story first, and the Eagly story, the second story, which is basically just Peacemaker with Eagly. But there is some crossover between the two. Like he calls up Peacemaker in this issue, and like when he calls up Peacemaker, you find out where he was in his story with Eagly, essentially, where like when he called him. And yeah, there's not too much else there though. I think there was some, okay art. This just felt like the fact that it is a tie into the show and it kind of aligns itself with the humor and the feel of the show so much. I felt this is actually not as enjoyable as the Kyle Starks Peacemaker Tries Hard miniseries, because that one it felt like if you're a fan of the show, you should check it out, but it wasn't like it was the show. You know what I mean? This is basically it's the show, because even the people like Vigilante, he draws him to look like the character from the show, like the actor.
Yeah.
So I don't really love that as much personally, but I thought that there was some good humor in it, and it did have some good artists on it. So it's well done at the very least. But I don't know. I'll see if I'm going to check out the second issue or not. Depends on the week it comes out. If it's a big week again, like this one. Oh yeah. And the Peacemaker one, it was funny though. They open up with him at Eagly, and he's fighting, like these alligator Nazis. There's basically like these are crocodiles, whatever, like these that are basically Nazis as well that he's fighting. I don't know. It's just funny, a funny combination of characters. So yeah, I liked that. But in the Peacemaker thing, he gets on a plane and then they get gassed. And that's kind of where they leave it. It looks like somebody gassed him on the plane, and he's just annoying as ever, like the John Cena character on the show. I gave this, which I love. I love the show. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. It was okay. Then they got Black Canary, Best of the Best, number 5. One more issue to go. Not too much else happened in this. They kind of keep cutting to scenes with her and her mother, and she's not doing very well, and it looks like she was going to die. They leave us at a place at the end of the issue where it looks like she either died or she's about to die, and maybe that's the reveal of what had happened here. She went to this fight without even that on the line, and there's a moment during the fight, even though it kind of seems like she's got the upper hand finally in this fight because she looks way more messed up, Lady Shiva, than she did previously. She whispers in her ear during the fight something about her dead mother, and then she just fucking loses it. So then by the end of this issue, they're both on the ground, beat the shit up out of the last seconds of the round running out, and they're both basically collapsed. And they're going into the 6th round, it looks like, but they're both worse for wear at this point in time. And the whole flashback things, like I said, was just her mother again training her and kind of getting her to the point where she is now, and her never giving up and all that kind of stuff. And Ollie goes and visits her in the hospital when her mother's there, which is a nice moment. She's like all happy to go tell her mother, "Hey, Ollie's in the waiting room. Came to see if everything how's everything going." And she goes to grab her mother's hand, and she's like, "Mom, are you okay?" Like, so I don't know if we've lost her or she's just basically on death's door by the end of this issue. So great art as always, but I'll still give this a 3.75 out of 5. This series has been fine, but yeah, it's okay. I wish it was a little bit more better as well. Batman the Last Halloween, number 6. Not much to say on this. Enrico Marini was the artist on this one, who I really enjoy. The story is still not that great. That's about it. Get the issue if you like this artist. It's really cool to see him. He's an Italian artist who's done some Batman stuff before that doesn't do a lot of interiors. So I was happy to see him on this, but I still really don't care too much about the story going on here. And I think this is the last issue I've pre-ordered, even though it's like a 10-issue series. Not sure it's going to read better as one big collection or not, but I will say there has been a lot of great artists since there's a different one every issue. That's been the highlight of this series, not so much the story. So let's hopefully Hush 2 fares better for recent output from Jeff Loeb. Yeah. And then that's Harley Quinn, number 49.
Anything good going on with Harley?
Not at all. These covers, these David Nakayama variant covers, that's the only thing going on. It's kind of like a fighting game, like select your fighter kind of thing. I still love these covers, but this is one of the worst Harley issues I've ever read.
Oh, man.
Still bad. Yeah, I just don't know what these stories are that they're making up for her. Like, this is terrible. There's some woman now that's like a villain in her life or of some sort, or just some woman that's a bad person that's meddling in her life in this storyline right now. And I guess she's also possibly in love with her, so she's messing with her head. I don't know what's going on there. It's not good. 2.75 out of 5. I just really don't care about the story whatsoever. You don't even have the fun, interesting backups with interesting artists anymore that you used to have. It's been a while since they've had that, but at least that was something to look forward to. At this point in time, I'm only getting them because Christine reads Harley, and we keep buying all the issues, and these David Nakayama covers are fantastic. But that's the only positive thing I can say about this book right now. The artist is fine on it, but very cartoony style. So if you're not into that, you may not like this art. But the stories are just stupid stories that I don't know who would be interested in these stories, and I just feel like they've lost the sight of what the character is or what kind of stories to tell with this character. And nothing will save this book because they've had how many writers I feel like on this 49 issues in. I think they've changed up the creative team like 3 or 4 times at this point, and it's just like no one. And listen, I don't know. I'm not saying this has something to do with it. They keep putting women writers on the book, which is cool and all, but like I don't know if some of these writers are even that good of writers. Maybe they're just putting them on because they want to put a woman writer on a woman book. But, you got to hire the right person for the job, okay? That's all I'm going to say on that, right? Maybe that's a controversial statement, but they put some bad writers on this book, or at least people that have no idea what they want to do with the character. Like, put Kelly Thompson on this book. She's a fantastic woman writer. Like, put somebody good on the book. Even put Gail Simone on the book. Like, they have other good women writers that are writing for these comic companies that I don't feel that are featured on this title. Maybe they don't want to write this book. That's fine, but this is baloney, this book. It's so crappy. And then finally, Kids #1, which is like an oversized issue, one and done, like in this new horror line from Image Comics, Ninth Circle, written by Garth Ennis, art by Dalibor Talajic. I really wanted to like this. This was not so good either, unfortunately. So, if you missed out on this, don't worry about it. Basically, it's something where all the people for a period of time in the town are made to they turn into babies, essentially big adult babies. Hence the name Kids. They get reverted back to like a baby state, essentially, where they can't act like actual adults. They're like running around the city naked, trying to like suck on people's titties. Like trying to get milk out of them, causing destruction and not being able to take care of themselves properly. And they cause a lot of shit within the town. And and basically by the end, it all gets reverted back because some woman gets taken out who reveals that she was a witch or had some sort of powers or something that basically put this spell on the town because everyone treated her like shit. And yeah, I have the art somewhere. I'm not even gonna bring it up. It wasn't that great. Shame on you, Garth Ennis, because you're one of my favorite writers ever, and I don't know what the hell this was. So I'll also give this a 2.75 out of 5 this week. There you go. Got the stinkers out of the way. Maybe more to come. I don't know. Here we go, Chris. X Manhunt Omega #1.
Well, I don't know if you want to call this a stinker, but I think you do. I got my copy here, oversized, extra priced. Freaking, I don't know what this was. All the players are there. It's nice seeing them all interact. And they have their different philosophies as what's going on. But it seems that Professor X had a tumor in his head, and that was causing him to do all this stuff. I think they sort of explained some of the stuff that went on in Krakoa. That, if I'm right here, I'm not sure. Like those people he blew up weren't real or something. Is that something you got out of this or not? Or am I just misunderstanding some of the story here?
Sorry, repeat
But
yourself.
either way,
What'd you say? Repeat yourself there.
like in that Krakoa stuff, how Professor X, he blew up like a space station full of,
it wasn't
humans.
real. He's claiming it wasn't real. Yeah, because I guess they said it happened in an issue I didn't read, which was the Xavier.
Well, I think it's that it's the online comic or something.
Yeah, I didn't read it, but apparently it's explained in that what they perceived to be the case wasn't actually the case. But then tell me if this is what you understood from this comic. They also said that some of his weird behavior was due to a tumor that he had on his brain.
Yeah.
That they removed in this issue.
Yeah, and then now he's all fine again, and now he's more like the
Right.
the normal Professor X, and they all seem to accept that story just
Right.
point blank. Once he, because I guess he's escaped. As I guess this whole comic was more about his escape, and there were some
Right.
cool scenes in there, like with Cyclops and magic. She jumps on his sword, and then he blasts the sword with his eye beams and stuff. And then he sort of freaks out, and then freaking Wolverine kind of claws through his eye beam to stab him, and that sort of righted something in Cyclops' head. I don't know. There's a lot going on here, and none of it makes too much sense or is all that interesting in the end. And they all seem to forget Professor X at the end, and he's on his way for his space journey now. And I am kind of looking forward to like what's that, Imperium or
Imperial. Yeah.
Imperial? I guess he's involved in. I didn't know he's going to be involved. I read some of the solicitations for that. It looked like there's some interesting people in there. So I don't know if this makes me more looking forward to that more or less now. I don't know.
That was actually the only part of this comic I liked. All this stupid infighting between the teams again. I didn't know why they had to run that back in this. This is ridiculous. Like, she's zooming around on her sword, and then they were yelling out their attacks for some reason. I don't know what the hell was going on there.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was all crap. Like, 3/4 of this comic was crap. The part that I liked about this issue was the goodbye to Xavier, though. I actually really liked that scene. I thought it was really cool what he said to them. And the fact that he's like, I've had enough, I'm retiring. Like, that actually, like, it
Yeah.
made sense to me, where he's just like, that's it now. Like, after everything, I don't want to be the reason you guys fight anymore. I only wanted to be a professor, like a teacher to you guys, to mentor you guys. And like, look at everything that has happened. I'm just going to complicate things more by being here. Like, I like that. I'm like, that makes sense to me. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. But obviously, he's not going to be off the board forever. We know this because we're comic readers, and that's just the nature of comics. But for now, I was like, that actually is the only way that you could avoid having any stupid, like, longer storylines with them fighting over like what he does, like being in prison or whatever. Like, it makes sense. Like, get him out of here. We don't need Xavier. He is problematic. He was a big part of the Krakoa era. That's enough now. Put him off to the side for a while. That's, I think that's smart. I actually like what he said to Cyclops and everybody at the end there. And that was the saving grace, let's say, of this issue. Overall, I still think the event was not that good, but to get from point A to point B, if this is what you had to do to get him off on another planet and set up with Jonathan Hickman writing him in the event, I'm cool with that, because I'm like, all right, let's go. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm okay with that. If he wants to be in with the Shi'ar in space or whatever, the Shi'ar or whatever, and that's what we're gonna do. I'd rather that than whatever the hell this is. Like, that's been going on in this event.
So, I found it odd that they had Jean Grey like not involved in the story at all. Like, you think she'd like telepathically be there for at least the final event. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what's going on in her story, but
I think she's.
I think they would have shoehorned in. But she's one of the important characters.
I think she's also been up in space, though. I think that's the whole
point.
Yeah,
she's up in space too. So maybe she might be
Imperial
wrapped up in this news story. Or
you might see Xavier and her together in that series. Yeah. Right? So maybe that's what they're doing. They're shipping everybody off to space that Hickman wants to use in this. They're like, all right, you're off planet right now. You're Hickman's Imperial story. Yeah. This scene was cool too, though, with Wolverine having to go through Cyclops' crazy beams there, and he's like a skeleton at the end almost. Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool. He had to stab him there and kind of calm him down.
Yeah, he seems to recover from those stab wounds pretty easily, though.
Yeah. But that's the part I liked of this issue, is that like he called everybody back there. He could have ran away, but he's like, no, I'm gonna say goodbye to everyone. I like it because Cyclops didn't get his way. Cyclops is like, you can't just leave. You got to serve your time. No, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I liked that. He's like, no, it's okay. I'm just going to remove myself from this situation. It's much easier. I'm like, it is, Xavier. It is much easier. What'd you give this?
Yeah, it's a 3.5.
Yeah, I mean, I want to give it less, but I'll agree. I did like that part of it. That otherwise, this was crap, but I did really like that part. So 3.5 out of 5. Next up, Ultimate Wolverine number 3.
I got a variant cover. I don't know why I picked up this variant cover. It's not bad though.
Oh yeah, not bad. Yeah.
And I think I'm liking this Ultimate Wolverine. I know this should have been called Ultimate X-Men more than the Ultimate X-Men is. But otherwise, they're bringing new characters. So I'm always enjoying that part. I got Gambit, who's here? Gambit, Kitty Pryde, and Black Widow. I'm surprised they kind of threw her into the mix. And I know when I read through this comic, I thought it just flew by. Like it got right to the end quickly. But it seems to be lots of stuff going on. They talk about I guess Colossus' brother or got killed by Gambit. And just Wolverine sort of doing his thing, and it looks like he's gonna start getting some of his memories back. It seems Kitty and Wolverine still have a sort of a special relationship here in the Ultimate Universe as well. And she kind of holds on to his head or something. I don't know if she's got what sort of her power set is here, if there's anything new that she has, but he kind of seems to that he may remember sooner or later. So there's kind of chipping away at this Winter Soldier aspect that he's got going on. So yeah, and I'm down to hear the story. And I kind of like all this stuff. They're in Asia where Colossus is, trying to, I guess, influence the news here. With all the fake news and stuff like that. So that's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm liking this a lot. I think this is same deal like some other books here that we've been talking about lately. I think the action comes first in this story. There is an interesting story throughout, but that's forming with more characters showing up that you're seeing within the Ultimate universe. But like you said, it's always a breezy read, I feel like, because like you're seeing all these great action sequences of Wolverine doing this thing as like this, as this agent, essentially the brainwashed agent. And I think in this one, it was a bit of a tipping point for him because with that whole scene with him and what's her name there? Kitty Pryde messing with his head, he almost is possibly starting to remember that he is Wolverine, because when she's seen him, she was just shocked because she's like, where have you been, kind of thing, right? So
yeah, when Wolverine's in the tunnels with, I guess, the rest of his crew there, does he just get that one guy that sort of set off all those bombs and just throws them out there?
He literally picks up one of them and throws it towards the bomb, because they have all these chess pieces that were like supposed to act as like a trigger for an explosive, right?
Yeah.
And all of them were just like, oh, what are those things? And I guess he thought better of it to like walk past them. So he threw the guy at it and he triggered the explosions. And that's what kind of tipped off Gambit and them to jump into the van there and run off, right? So they were like, oh, they're here. Here comes. And they didn't know that Wolverine was this guy with them. Right? Like that's why, like this whole scene at the end there where she tries to get him to remember phasing through his head. And they kick him out the van there, and she's like, yeah, I'll see you soon, like kind of thing. Right?
Yeah, and then the van was, supposed to have this precious cargo, and of course, it turns out to be kids. So that's always something,
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. I like it. What'd you give this?
I get 3.75.
I'll go 4. I'll go 4 on this. I like this series. It's good.
They gotta get rid of his mask. I hate this mask he's got going on. Casey Jones from the Turtles or what?
Ultimate Spider-Man number 15.
Ooh, I hear a lot of bad things about this comic. At least this issue. But I love it still.
Who's been saying
nothing bad to say about this?
Who the hell's saying bad things? You showed me this, people.
I can say one thing. This would not serve well as a trade comic or to read in trade. Because, you kind of like the stories just move month to month. The last issue, it's like, okay, he's like, oh, we got to run. And here, then, this issue starts up there in a trailer park out in the desert somewhere. It's like, whoa, how did this all happen? And I don't know if they're laying this stuff on a little too thick with Mary Jane's understanding. She seems to be taking this way too easily. I don't know. That could be turning into something. I don't know what that's about, but
I just want to say
it for now.
I was gonna say the thing I feel like you're taking way too easy is the fact that he what's his name just died. they're like, yeah, that was crazy, right?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, she's at the funeral. I just seen her on TV or whatever. What's his name? Harry. I'm like, I don't know. That was a pretty big fucking deal. Like, I get like try to like take your family and get out of the city as fast as possible because you could be the next target. But I also just feel like it didn't seem to be affecting him as much as it should. This whole Harry's death. That's my one criticism about this
Yeah.
story in this one. Yeah, I was like, I don't know, but anyways, yeah, go
Like,
on.
he hasn't been a hero for all this long, and your best friend just died. Well, maybe not your best friend, but some guy you've been hanging around with there for the last little while just died pretty much because of you. And he's
Yeah,
like, oh, no worries, we'll work it out. And and the stuff with the Sandman, I thought that was good. And then especially when the kid saves the Sandman and go, oh, here's trouble. And then freaking the Sandman just go, oh, thank God you saved me. I've been trapped here for so long. And,
three
and he
years. He
goes on his
said.
merry way. Yeah.
I think he said like 3 years or something insane like that. That would be crazy. You know what I mean? Like if they were stuck in that state, like constantly trying to form and not being able to. Oh Jesus,
Yeah.
it's like torture, right? So
Yeah. So I love the story. I still I like the relationship between them. And, I like a lot of people may, or not a lot, but I've heard some people aren't so gung ho on the lack of action. But I think as the issues go, I think as a standalone issue, I enjoyed this, and as a movie on the story, it works for me still.
no, I agree. I still really love this. Like I said, a little bit of a slight criticism based on like how they jump ahead in this storyline and maybe some of the stuff that happened to them previous to this, maybe they should have been reflecting on a little bit more. But in the fashion of the comic of how they jump month to
Yeah.
month, yeah, I get it. Even the stuff at the end with J. Jonah Jameson and the paper and his father there with the kingpin, I thought that was really interesting. Everything
Yeah.
that's going on there.
Yeah. It doesn't own that stuff with Ben Riley too. Like they've killed. He went
Yeah,
around and he just killed every Ben Riley just to make a point to those guys.
on the
And,
planet.
that's supposed to be a fictitious name, and oof, and it doesn't look like they're backing down though either. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's all good stuff.
still consistently one of my favorite books, honestly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's great stuff. Yeah, that's that. Like I said, it's not often I have criticisms about this book, but that was the one thing that kind of reading this today, or when I read it, it was just like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like he should have been affected a little bit more than this by this tragedy, but they got to move forward with this, right? He's got a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
I feel like they're leading us down the path where Liz Allen's, or yeah, it's Liz Allen's Harry's wife is going to be the new Green Goblin and be bad. But somehow he's kind of all just flipping the script on all these things. So who
Maybe
knows?
that's why. Maybe she's gonna be like, "Why didn't you fucking care more? I should
Well,
see
I
it."
think that's what he wants us to think, and they're going to show up. Oh, thank
Right,
God you're so safe, and
right,
they'll just be chums. It seems everything's working out for him here.
right. Yeah. Well, also like the crazy conspiracy nuts that are with them in their
Yeah,
trailer home area. That was pretty funny too.
yeah,
I thought that was good. He's like, "Do not go out there. Things happen. People disappear." So yeah, that was good stuff. What'd you give this?
yeah. I give it 4, no problem.
4 out of 5. Yep. And then finally, Amazing Spider-Man number 70, last issue of this run before we reboot the series.
Yeah, making Spider-Man number 70.
And the last issue of the 8 deaths of
Yeah.
Spider-Man here. What'd you think?
I feel when Joe Kelly told the story, whoever he's got to run these his story ideas by, this story might have sounded good on paper, like just kind of in your, oh, we'll give that's a Spider-Man. He dies all these wacky ways, ends up going with the Juggernaut, becoming the Juggernaut at the end, and then he teaches whatever the Sidorak god about grief, and the Sidorak god sacrifices himself to keep the blight out, and Spider-Man now is he's got his renewed sense of responsibility, but it's been all total crap. Like the art here was great. There's some like nice scenes here. I like seeing Spider-Man as the Juggernaut. That was fun, and I think the actual Juggernaut, he might be the only bright spot of this whole series. These last, or maybe not the whole series, but at least the last couple issues. This is the first time you ever seen sort of, at least I've seen Juggernaut sort of take a lead role in all this stuff, and having him and Spider-Man both being Juggernauts at the same time. They did the fastball special. You got some. They're kind of trying to crank out a few hits, but otherwise, yeah, I don't know. I'm not too. This doesn't jazz me up for the new series, but let's hope Joe Kelly's got something up his sleeve.
Agreed. And then that short story at the end where it was like, look forward to the Amazing Spider-Man #1. I'm like, that doesn't set up anything. That stupid
Yeah,
story that they put at the end.
it makes me look forward to it less.
I know. I was just like, what is this? Like, it was like some weird, like 6-page story or whatever that they had that it added nothing. I felt like to the future of the book. Like he stops a crime, and then it was just like, I was like, okay, like,
Yeah, and then they tie up the loose ends there, whatever. Peter makes up with Aunt May, and I like the scene with him and Black Cat. But it's just basically, oh, we're just great friends now. And I guess that stuff with Shay looks like he's gonna get another chance with her, which I don't really give two craps about. And the funny thing is, I guess when they had his whatever his art fair or his photo gallery display there, and
yeah,
you see Mary Jane with Paul and Dylan all there. So even though they don't say anything, but just having them included there was something.
yeah. I don't know about this next series, honestly. I guess we'll see what happens, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I
Give this
hope.
new series like 6 issues,
Yeah,
and
I
it
hope
could
it's
be on the
good.
block.
I hope it's good. I hope this good. It's good.
Yeah,
So
like unless that's friggin' who's there? It's who's the artist? Is it Pepe Larraz?
yeah, yeah,
That might be the only thing keeping me in there. So you better be doing a lot of issues.
yeah. No, I agree. We'll see what happens. All right, so that's gonna do it for the books that we read this week that we wanted to talk about. What are you looking forward to checking out next week, Chris? Which is what,
Well,
April?
before we go, I got a couple covers
Oh,
here.
sorry, go ahead. Yeah, excuse me.
It's, this Heat
Oh,
Seeker. This is an Ivan Tao cover,
very
and
nice,
that's the one I might get for that facsimile.
very nice.
And then I also got this Wolverine. I think it's your girl here, or your guy. I don't know. G Young Lee.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a sick cover. Ji Young Lee. Yeah, I love that cover
It's
artist.
kind of thrown into my pile. Like, oh, I didn't really pull that. I didn't ask for this.
Ah,
But hey, I always say I'll take it if you got it. So
that's a nice one.
I
I'm
took it.
jealous. I like that one. That's pretty good. I like that one a lot.
And
Now,
for next week, where did I put it? Oh, it's all under here. But there it is.
but
Okay, so what we
yeah.
got going next week?
What is next week? April 2nd.
Yeah. Yeah, so for April 2nd out of Marvel. Ooh, I don't know if I pulled X-Men 14. I don't think so. Well, there might be other covers. Yeah, there's some more of those Marvel Capcom
Yes.
variants, so I might be getting a few of those. I'm not sure which ones I pulled.
I
So I
like
probably
those
have this
covers a
X-Men
lot.
14.
Those are great.
Well, all new Venom 5. Looking forward to that. I guess the new Venom should be revealed, so they say. Well, I'll be trying to read. I might try and read this Daredevil Cold Day in Hell. That's supposed to be seeing some covers for that. That might be interesting.
I told you. It's supposed to be
Yeah,
the
the
Dark
West Coast
Knight.
Avengers 6. I think I pulled this Marvel Rivals 1, but I don't know what that's about. And I got something everybody to miss, the Concert of Champions. I'm sure that's going to be freaking awesome. Definitely won't be reading that. That's it. Probably reading Absolute Superman 6. And yeah, we're talking about the preview they had for Green Lantern 1. Looks like something interesting was going on there. Ooh, I guess freaking not much going on in DC. Next week might be a lighter week.
No, just me too. It just everything came out this week apparently.
Yeah. An Image, try and read Hyde Street. Try and get my hand on Scorched. Yeah, and that's it too there. I think they got some G.I. Joe silent missions, or I don't know what that's about though. I wasn't too keen on that. But as for DC, there might be a bunch I read there too. We got Batgirl, Birds of Prey, JSA. That's about it. What do you got going on?
Honestly, like one of the smallest weeks in forever of actual issues I'm picking up. I have Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell #1, which yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. It's McNiven art. That's supposed to be
You got
like
a red band or no?
No, but they've been saying this is going to be like the Dark Knight of Daredevil stories. He's old in this essentially, so it's Dark Knight
Yeah,
Returns, like a Daredevil style essentially of that of Dark Knight Returns. So like, I'm really
it's
like,
just a complete rip off of Dark Knight.
I
I'm
mean,
there with
they're
brandy
not
glass.
they're not hiding from it. They basically
Yeah,
have said that's what it's going to be, which I'm completely fine with. Like, I think they got a good artist on it, so I'm here for it. But I agree. Yeah, they're just blatantly ripping it off at this point. Then I got X-Men number 14. I got the Marvel versus Capcom Magneto cover for that.
yeah. I think I probably have that bolt.
That's it. Literally 2 issues of actual stuff I'm picking up next week. But let me see though if there's anything else I'm reading digitally from these companies. Let's take a look. I'm just looking right now. Nothing from Dark Horse. Oh, Absolute Green Lantern comes out. I'll read it and talk about it on the show. I didn't order it, but I'll read it for the show for sure. Absolute Superman. Yeah, there's a couple of things here that'll come out that I'll read and chat about here. Birds of Prey. Batgirl 6. Yeah, that's for DC. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to there. Never Touching Secret 6 again, that series after the first issue. Uh, and
Yeah,
then
wasn't in the end of Justice League they had a preview or something of the Secret Six?
maybe
I didn't. Once I figured it was a preview of that, I just scrolled ahead.
yeah. I might check out this side. Oh no, this is a reprint of the old Silent Missions issue that's coming. Oh no, the first one for this Beachhead comes out next week too. Yeah, I might check that out. I think that's it for Image though. Not much from Image. Yeah, and then Marvel, all new Venom. I'll check that out. Yeah, all those. Did you see all those variants floating around of all the? They've made 4 different variants with people in the. At first, they were trying to spoil the fact that Mary Jane could be the all new Venom, but then
Yeah,
the like different covers were leaking out throughout the day. So like now they have a few different ones. There's Robbie Robertson. There's if one of those covers is supposed to Luke Cage's one, if one of those covers
yeah.
is supposed to be the new Venom, though, I'm sure if you bought them all and you got the right one on one of them, then they would be good money. Maybe if you can't
I,
have lots
I
of
know
it.
this. I don't know if this story's grabbing the attention as much as they think, but it
Yeah,
better be one of them because they're gonna pull a fast one.
yeah.
That'd be brutal.
I mean, this is the same shit they did when you didn't know who Thor was when it was Jane Foster for a while. Like it was just the same thing,
Yeah,
he pulled when it came to that, right? And then all of a sudden, they were because she was Thor for like I feel like 20 issues or something, and then she like took it off and like it was like oh it's Jane Foster, and like everyone was like a lot of people had already figured it out, but at that point,
yeah.
but yeah, it was just one of those things they try to do for marketing reasons, right? So. Uh, yeah, not much from Marvel, honestly. No, I mean, I didn't pick up Psylocke. I dropped it now, so I probably won't read it. That's one I don't think I'll continue to read digitally. West Coast Avengers, yeah. Yeah, and X-Men, honestly. West Coast Avengers, X-Men, and probably that Daredevil book. That's probably it for Marvel. It's not much next week, so which is fine with me. This is a huge week this week. So
Yeah.
that's it for next week, guys. We're looking forward to April 2nd. So make sure to tune back in. All right, Chris, your favorite book of the week. I don't even know what the hell mine's gonna be. There's a lot.
No, either. Some big ones there. I read. There are a few in the running. But yeah, I'm gonna have to give it to Wonder Woman 18 or 19, whatever.
Oh wow.
The end of the story. I did like that flash forward where everybody's all dead, and that kind of dropped my jaw a little bit. See how they're gonna play that out, and I did like the twist where she's in the story, and then the Sovereign still got something up his sleeve there.
This is a surprise. But I have to go with Fantastic 430. I really liked that story. I thought that it was a really good humanizing kind of like story as the thing as Ben Grimm, honestly, and it
Yeah,
tied into the event really well. And it was just a really good one and done kind of storyline that's like a focus on him that Ryan North did a great job on. Yeah, he honestly like I gotta start giving this guy his due. I never really jumped on with Fantastic Four, although I kept reading it digitally throughout. I think like every now and then he really does a great job. Like, and not to say he doesn't consistently do a good job, but like I just yeah, I really have come to appreciate his run, I think, on Fantastic Four. I think there's a lot of really good stuff in there. And now like this event has started out really strong. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I got to give it up to him. I'm gonna go with Fantastic 430 as my favorite of the week this week.
Right.
Yeah, good stuff. But it was a close race though. There's a lot of really good things that came out this week. I mean, I could easily just give it to Absolute Wonder Woman again or Ultimate Spider-Man again. I feel like I've given those like a lot of my favorites of the week so far. And even this debut of this other book, We're Taking Everyone Down With Us, was really interesting. I don't think enough to give me my favorite of the week, but it was good. Thunderbolt's Doomstrike has been good. Yeah, it's good stuff this week. All right. That's going to do it, though. We'll see you guys all next time. Chris, thank you as always. And we'll
All
see
right.
you guys
Thank you.
later.
Later.